Welcome to a very special episode of the Drachneck and Friends official podcast, where we peel back the curtain on puzzle games and the people who make them. For this large roundtable discussion, I'm Syrenne, the producer at Drachneck and Friends, and I'm joined first, as always, by Alan Hazelden, the head Drachneck at Drachneck and Friends.
Hey there.
And most of the development team of our recently released game, Spooky Express. Going down the line, we have Ben Wilson.
Hi, hello.
And what did you do on the project?
Hi, I'm Ben, and I was the producer on Spooky Express.
We have Lucas.
Hello.
And what did you do on the project?
I'm the puzzle designer, level designer.
And we have Ben D.
Hello, lead programmer.
And we have Phoenix.
Hello, also programmer and UI, UX.
And we have Priscilla.
Hello, I'm Priscilla. I did the audio, the sound, and the music.
Awesome. So this isn't everyone, but this is as many people as we could get on one call. So bear with us as we learn to have a fun conversation with the seven of us. A warning, Spooky Express just came out, and there's nothing spookier than spoilers. However, we're going to talk very openly about the development of this game, so if you are worried about spoilers that are not just puzzle solutions, you can leave this episode play marked as in progress in your podcast player of choice, and then return to this once you complete the game. All right, with that out of the way, Alan, do you want to refresh people's memories? What was the impetus for starting this project?
Well, we had to make something, didn't we? And we were throwing a bunch of ideas around, and one of them was a spooky follow-up to Cosmic Express. And we asked a bunch of people to hey, can you do some mock-ups or concept art for this specific idea or that specific idea? And of those, we really liked the mock-up that Lucy made of the Spooky Express concept of zombies and vampires in a graveyard setting where you have to pick them up and drop them off at coffins and graves. And so, yeah, it was one of many ideas, and then it was the idea, and then we decided to make it.
After a pit stop to learn Godot in the electrifying incident.
Yes.
So this is fun because actually listeners to the podcast will have probably heard this story, but just as a recap, what led to bringing Lucas on?
I knew that I would not have the bandwidth to make all the puzzles needed for a game of the scope on my own, being distracted by other things. And Lucas is a fantastic puzzle designer. So we reached out. I was like, hey, do you wanna make puzzles for this game?
Or Lucas.
Lucas loved it.
Yeah, Lucas, did you love it?
I mean, I was terrified at first because this was a game coming from Cosmic Express, and I'm really bad at Cosmic Express. So it was like, okay, I really want to work with you, but I'm not sure I can deal with line drawing puzzles at all. I don't feel like my brain was wired to make them, but it was a really smooth experience. Yeah.
As someone who did not design levels for either game, I will say that I think that the levels in Spooky Express are at least just as good as the ones in Cosmic Express.
Oh, they are better.
That's what at least means.
I literally just posted yesterday or last night that this game is good because when I'm testing it, I often forget that I'm testing it because I just start solving puzzles. So even after a year of this, I'm still just like, ooh, puzzles.
Yeah, because I think we've touched on it in previous podcasts, but it's worth saying close to the start of the episode, this game is so much more approachable than Cosmic Express, and it's so much deeper and more interesting. The puzzle mechanics go to much more interesting places. And we have just learned a lot in the past 8 years about making games that onboard nicely while still getting up to some really tricky puzzles, but aren't so off-puttingly hard.
Yeah, I was actually curious about that. I was curious about the process of using these mechanics, and specifically for Lucas and Alan, of how you were developing and iterating over the same mechanics for the A section and the B section and the C section.
Yeah, Lucas, you want to talk a bit about the overall iteration on the ideas?
I mean, I guess for the B and C sections that have more than one car on the train, the process has been completely different. I think it's maybe more interesting because it was longer, the process of working on the main puzzles of the game, and I guess like possibly like every other puzzle game I've worked on is just a process of facing the mechanics, experimenting with them, and being able to dissect them in little pieces, and just understanding that maybe two lessons that felt really similar are completely different ideas that need its own puzzle. So you can end up with much smaller puzzles that focus on very small ideas and that are not repeated. So it's just a process of understanding that a puzzle that I made in month 3, maybe during month 5, I understand that there are more ideas contained in that puzzle, and I need to just break into something else. And I guess at first I thought that I wasn't going to be making 200 puzzles, and maybe only half of them, but they continue to pop up because the ideas were there all the time. And I think that's what's interesting about just submerging into any type of systems of rules or puzzle game.
And one really noticeable thing about the structure of this game is how, we don't have any puzzles with multiple train cars until after the end credits. Lucas, do you remember at what point we made that decision to focus on single car levels for the majority of the game?
I think very early we at first we focus on the just the first 3 level packs of the game, and just focusing on that, just me trying to get the hang of these levels that are probably, since the mechanics aren't that complex at that point, it is mostly similar to some Cosmic Express ideas. Since I needed to focus on that to understand things, we didn't end up with that many multi-car levels. So we just saw the potential of, okay, we have a dozen of levels for each level pack without multi-cars. Maybe they are not part of the main path at all, and that's the first that time we considered that possibility.
Yeah, and I think at some point we were thinking like, oh, well, you'll beat the single car levels for an area, and that will unlock the multi-car levels for the area. But eventually we just put it post-game after the credits, and I think it works well there.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of complex ideas there that help a lot in pacing, just understanding the whole basics. And I think also because the game, in comparison to Cosmic Express, this feels more vertical. Like every mechanic has a lot of interesting space with every other mechanic. While in Cosmic Express, I feel like the worlds were kind of separated and were not one-off mechanics, but they were less intersected as they are here. So it is useful to actually understand all the intricacies of the mechanics and then just going in this extra layer of complexity.
Yeah, honestly, I think that from a personal perspective, I think that the onboarding of new mechanics works remarkably well. I think that is probably the thing that I think that Cosmic Express is weakest at. And I think that this game does, especially by thoughtfully curating the first 2 to 3 levels of every level pack around making sure that you understand the implications of the new mechanic before throwing it in with other mechanics. I really do think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm surprised by how well the initial levels for each section, from my own experience watching other people play through it, how they can explain everything so thoroughly while also still being sizable puzzles in their own right. I think the pacing is done very well.
There's sort of a new thing we're doing with this game, right? That we have several gated unlocks of progressively harder levels. You sort of touched on that. Just because one issue we had in Cosmic Express, right, was that you got access to all the hardest levels in the first level pack, and some people would just get stuck for hours.
People are very stubborn.
So we're sort of saving them from themselves now.
Yeah, and I think that really contributed to the character of Cosmic Express. I don't think it was a good design decision necessarily, but it was one that like that feels cohesive with what the overall experience of Cosmic Express is, but that would not feel cohesive with what this game is.
Right. Yeah. I don't really get what you mean.
Well, like I feel like Cosmic Express, the levels are like inherently hard, and like you have to bash your head against this. Like there's just a lot of options, and you have to like just try a bunch of stuff until you progress, rather than there's a lot of hard. Yeah, there's a lot of big Cosmic Express levels that are hard, but it's very tricky to have the like insight of like, oh well, I just need to do this. Also, that game didn't have hints, so that's another way that game was hard.
The hints are so nice.
Yes, I was gonna say, the concept of the hint of showing you one very specifically curated portion of the solution is a very elegant way to handle it, because you can't just show what the end state looks like to someone, because that is the solution. That's not a hint. That's a guide. So I think that like showing, oh, well, you're going to need to turn here, work back from there, is like a really good way, I think, especially to be able to rip someone out of their puzzle blinders and allow them to recontextualize knowing a part of the solution. Like having seen that in action and watched people play with the hints, let alone use the hints on some of the latest levels in the game, I think that as a hint system, it works very well.
I don't remember if I said this on the podcast before, but for Cosmic Express, I actually did do exactly this as a hint system via social media. I would say like, hey, if you're feeling stuck on a Cosmic Express puzzle, like send me a message and I'll send you a photo of that level with some crucial track highlighted.
I remember you talking about that as the hint system was getting implemented, as like, we should do that.
Be cool if you could like appear in someone's game and be like, hey, you look stuck.
Just have a phone number that crawls the bottom of the screen if the player's been stuck in a level for more than 30 minutes.
1-800 direct.
Exactly.
Premium phone number.
Yeah, exactly. This will be $5 a minute.
Yeah, there we go.
The hint line.
We got to make profit somehow.
You press the hint button and it automatically starts calling out them.
I mean,
Right.
this is just making me think of the joke in Monkey Island 2 where you in-game call the hint line. But beyond that, you don't actually want Alan over your shoulder while you're playing this game, because he will just laugh at you.
No, that was Cosmic Express Alan. Spooky Express Alan is much friendlier.
Citation needed.
Well, I feel like Spooky Express Alan would be more like, that's interesting. And then not explain, like, why.
Okay, let me take a step back. I think listeners to the podcast, Alan would be pretty kind. I think people on this podcast recording right now, he would cackle.
Just think about it harder. You'll get there. I believe in you.
I will say one of the best feelings is when you are like banging your head against a puzzle and then you just like set the controller down for 5 minutes and then you pick it up and do it in one. Like, yeah. That's a great feeling.
That's the real hint. Like sometimes when I first came onto this project and I like started using the hints for playing the game, I originally was like, I don't like these hints. This hint system doesn't work. And it took me so long to like actually like understand like the
you never told me this.
It just took me a little bit to like, because you'd get to that frustrated point and you'd sort of be beating your head against the thing, and then you click the hint button, which sort of you're conditioned to think of as a thing that will give you like immediate relief for your like anguish, which it doesn't. These hints don't do that. They like give you a nudge towards some insight that maybe you don't have yet. And so you do need to like sit with it for a bit. Like it's not a hint where you immediately like, oh, it's not like a like a spelling mistake, like red underline thing where it just tells you what you've done wrong immediately. It's like a little nudge towards an insight. And so it takes a little bit to like appreciate I think once you get that, though, it's like, okay, I've misunderstood something and gotten something fundamentally wrong, and I need to just sit with this for a little bit longer. And that's like a pretty good way to do hints, I think.
I mean, I'll point out that if it gave you the instant relief and kind of gave you the red highlight underline, then that robs you of the playing the game, which is finding the solution yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not the thing that I would have wanted. It's like, what's that saying about how like the player doesn't really necessarily know what they need, but they know what they want.
They might know what the problem is, but they definitely don't know the solution.
And so like it's the reflexive thought, I guess, on my first like playthrough of the game was like, oh no, I need to still think, like, you know, like it's not just gonna like give me a gimme. But like I've grown to appreciate that.
Yeah, it like cuts down the possibility space, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
The nerdy way of saying it.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think in that first playthrough you had, I was much less generous with hints, and in the last pass I did with them, I thought about what they were actually telling the hints, and I saw the potential of them being a bit longer just for creating that relief without just spoiling the whole solution. So I think they are better, but I still have to really understand the point of how a hint impacts a player.
I think you've done a really good job of like revealing the bit of track that is like you sort of empathetically stepped into a stuck player's head and tried to imagine the bit that would most openly reveal to them the idea they haven't gotten. Like, or, you know, the sort of, here's the thing with this level that you are probably missing if you haven't solved this already. And I think that's very skillfully done.
I think you could play through the entire game with hints on for every single level and still come out of it feeling like you've earned your win, which I think is a nice feeling.
Yeah, I think that's a good sign of like a well-designed hint system because I'm like typically a person who's like, I will not use hints. I will not blah, blah, blah. Like, but I've been turning on hints while playing this game. And like, sometimes I turn the hints on and I'm like, oh, what does it help me?
Yeah.
I will say the most owned I've ever felt playing a puzzle game was this game with one of the hints where I was like bashing my head. I had like almost it had appeared like I had almost solved the puzzle. I finally caved. I turned on the hint. The hint underlined a portion of track that had already been there, and I'm like, I'm owned. And then it turned out that what it actually wanted me to do. What the hint was actually saying was that I needed to be doing that path of track from the other direction.
From the other side, yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily tell you which direction. And and by the end, I was just like, skill issue, I know, but...
Yeah, we discussed like, oh, should the hint show directionality?
It's so much funnier that it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think it being like a nice clean UI way of showing it. I think there's a world where we did, but like that moment you're describing is admittedly very, very funny.
Yes, it is a much funnier bit that it does not show that at all.
I like that, like, Syrenne, what you were saying about Alan laughing, like, Alan's not laughing in your face when you ask for a hint, but what is happening is that you click on a button when you need help, and something happens which Alan finds funny.
Yes. Alan, like, the spirit of Alan laughing is in all of Drakneck's published games.
Right.
Like, this is one of the only constants between every single game Drakneck has published, is somewhere in the game there is a moment where I could just picture Alan off screen laughing at me.
Sure. Sort of like a capricious genie or something.
Yeah, some little gremlin.
How long until we actually have a game with Alan laughing at you in?
Well,
we've discussed.
I know. Yeah.
It's in the ideas document.
It's been floating around for years, right?
I didn't want to say. Hey, yes,
Yeah, we shouldn't explicitly talk about
shouldn't talk about.
games
Yeah,
that haven't been greenlit. But I will say that the upside down Alan Slack emote should see the light of day somewhere else. Maybe that should be the Thinky Puzzle Discord. I use that a fair amount, and it is one of my favorite emotes of all time.
I think I got that from, was it Dicey? You did like a project with Dicey, right?
Yes, maybe when we were chatting, he made that. It was in that project files. He just added a photo of my face. Yes.
It's a slight digression from Spooky Express.
Yes. But I mean,
well, look, we could always add, for the Spooky Express DLC, we could always add a little gremlin that is explicitly named Alan. And I could write a little song about this is a gremlin named Alan. He's gonna happily solve all your puzzles.
One thing I wanted to ask with everyone here. We talked about this a bit for the people here that were on the Electrifying Incident call, that big wrap-up, which went off the rails way faster than this one did. How was everyone's experience in Godot for this? This is the first big project that we spent a full development cycle, start to finish, in Godot, not just a 6-week basically jam with some polish.
I probably touched Godot the least of everyone on this call, but
what are you talking about? Ben W and I are here.
Okay, fine. I wasn't in the project a lot, but compared to Electrifying Instant, that was Godot 4.3. This was 4.5. This project was so much more stable, had a lot of quality of life stuff that I was really happy to see compared to 4.3.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I was just impressed off the bat that it can work with Fmod. I'm pretty sure we talked about this a bit whenever I was on previously, but just the fact that it can run with Fmod and all things considered, very few issues with it. It just works. They were very good. The Godot team was very good about helping with some bugs that popped up early on. And yeah, on my end, I have no complaints. I think one of the nicest things came in a little bit later when we started implementing the item taps. I think Phoenix and Ben, you both worked on that tool together. Is that right?
I think I was the only one that was doing the tap. If I remember, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I don't. I think I was setting up the tools in Godot to allow for you to change the sound effects for stuff easier.
Yeah, that was great. I'm we should do that day one for all the sounds on the next game. Just have that available, because it was so nice to just be able to hook things up without having to message people hey, can you set up this
for the game devs in the audience, can you describe what it was that you implemented that was convenient?
Yeah. So that was specifically the one thing that I find consistently so nice about Godot is just how easy it is to set up tooling, which is fantastic for something like this, where we have 80 different props or 60 different props or something like that all are tappable. So all of them are supposed to be having their own collision box and model and sound effects that are all different. And that's a pain to go through each individual one and change. And so I set up a right-click context option in the file explorer that allows you to just swap out those sound effects in the explorer itself. And that was relatively quick to get up and going.
Yeah. It made it so quick for me to start getting things into the game and being able to test it and make sure it sounded good in context, and figuring out how many variations I actually needed. Because it's there's different variations on similar props because of how they're put together in the clusters, where there's multiple elements involved and that kind of thing. So it was really, really useful to be able to just pop those in myself and test and just really get into the groove with it.
Yeah, and then Ben was super helpful with going through the FMOD documentation and other nonsense like that to figure out what was happening there.
So I didn't do anything on it, but I'm happy to take credit.
Look, going through documentation is work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Looking at the FMOD API is not my favorite thing in the world, personally.
no. But I will say, or I guess to frame it as a question, do you think, Priscilla, that having sort of this tooling and having especially other people on the team who are able to help you with the FMOD implementation and the technical side of it, is that what led to, do you think, there being just so much music in this game?
Yeah, I mean, like, with my familiarity with FMOD, just like in terms of using the program itself, like okay, sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to approach this question. So initially, first go on this game, my initial thought was to do kind of what I've done in the past on puzzle games, which is where like each area has like one kind of core theme, and the music like changes a bit depending on like how difficult the puzzle is, or like, you know, how far within the solution you've progressed, like if there's like a way to like kind of track how close you are to getting a solution and that kind of thing. But with the number of puzzles there were, and just the how difficult it would kind of be to like precisely be like, oh, you're 75% of the way to a solution or whatever, because there is a little bit of variability with some of the puzzles, I decided like, actually, I think I'm gonna kind of take a jukebox approach to this one and just like come up with a good number of songs and have those on rotation so that you're not getting tired of what you're listening to so quickly. And so that's kind of where I came to the decision of like, rather than doing like one song per area that like has a bunch of like layers that come in and out, like to have just a bunch of really fun, spooky Halloween, like Saturday morning cartoon Halloween special style music, plus some like other stuff that's like a little more like Silent Hilly or whatever. But so that's like kind of where that kind of design choice came from. And then something I did kind of later on as I like was thinking about, you know, how I wanted to structure things like the soundtrack or whatever, I decided to pick a piece of music to kind of highlight in each area. So rather than having just like one song that plays the whole time, you have like a certain percentage chance higher of hearing one particular song in each area, which is the kind of like core song for the area. So like in the pumpkin patch, the core song is the jack-o'-lantern jam, which is like banjo and washtub bass and singing saw and stuff. So very like appropriate for hanging out in a pumpkin patch, and stuff like that. So I just kind of like pulled out individual tracks for each area and made those kind of like, this is the kind of mascot song for this area. And then the rest of the time is just like a bunch of fun tunes that kind of cycle. And, you know, each area has like a different kind of set of songs. So you might not hear one song in one area, but you'll hear it in like two others or whatever. So that's kind of how I balanced it, because I really wanted to try to give people like the most fun listening experience. So yeah.
I have a question about the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what I don't know if this is your process or anything like it, but like, did you have like a sort of like thematic mood board for like what you sort of wanted to bring to the soundtrack? Because there's like so many different like styles and sort of tones, but like, yeah, I don't know, like, did you have like a document somewhere when you started and you know, it had a bunch of like, oh yeah, remember this like theme from this film or whatever, or like this cartoon, like I want to know what you were thinking about when you sort of started.
Yeah, so when I started, like, I definitely a lot of times what I'll do when starting a project is like throw together a playlist of like songs that I think are like close to the kind of like intent that I want to like edge towards. And
Sure.
so I like went through and found just like so many different things that because I'm a big Halloween person.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, I am known for enjoying spooky things. And so a lot of like games, that I really have enjoyed in the past have been kind of like spooky, or like I really like when games have like a random spooky element in them. So like, I really enjoyed, I still need to go back and finish it. I can't believe we haven't finished it yet, but like I played Luigi's Mansion 3 in co-op mode, and that is really, really fun.
Sure, yeah.
I love some of my favorite songs from Animal Crossing or like KK Dirge. Like just the spooky and like the Halloween music that plays when Halloween happens in Animal Crossing, that kind of thing. Lavender Town and Pokemon. Like there's so many like wonderful spooky kind of things. And I also, like listened to some of the like Goosebumps music from like, the movies and the TV show and the games as well. And so I kind of just like listened to a bunch of things to be like, right, this is kind of like, these are the things people expect to hear, spooky piano and marimba and like weird instruments like theremin and singing saw and that kind of thing. And like kind of like kept, just used that to remind myself of like, here's kind of the things you can reach for and have it work pretty easily. And then like, as with most projects, like I make that playlist and I look at it and listen to it like once, and then I like never look at it again. Because I don't want, like, I never want to like be too close to anything. Like, I think that's like such a fear of like accidentally like, listening to something and then being like, oh, this melody is too close, I have to change it or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, as soon as I'm done getting my initial dose of like, here's kind of the things people are used to hearing in this mode, I like back off completely and just kind of like go off and squirrel away and play with all my assorted instruments.
Do you have this playlist that like exists to like get you in the correct zone and then you discard it completely so that it doesn't,
I like
poison your
it's like parachuting out of an airplane after listening to it once. It's like, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is a pumpkin patch a real thing? For the North Americans on the call.
What?
Have you never been to a pumpkin patch?
It's not really a thing here, right?
It's absolutely not a thing.
I'm going to a pumpkin patch in a week. This is a thing that is real.
So yeah, pumpkins don't really grow in the UK.
Really?
No, they grow. My mum has pumpkins in her allotment.
Then what the hell are you?
Look, we just aren't into Halloween in the same way that Americans are into Halloween.
I mean, the actual answer is they take up a ton of space.
Yeah, they're big.
So it's a place you go to get pumpkins.
Yeah. I think.
It's basically a giant farm that's just for pumpkins.
Yeah, it's like going to a cornfield for like a corn maze, or
they don't have. They probably have corn mazes either.
Hold on.
I said probably.
They probably don't even have corn mazes. You were about to say. I heard it.
Yes.
Okay.
The Queen doesn't like corn.
What a backwards country.
Pity these poor Brits.
No, it's not backwards country. It's, do you know how much empty freaking space we have in our country relative to yours?
It's a lot of empty space.
So I will say to set that, because listeners are probably like losing their mind saying like, we do have pumpkin patches in the UK. They do exist. They're just a lot more rare. And I think what we're talking about specifically when we say pumpkin patch is a place a member of the public can go to. It's like a sort of attraction. You can like go up. Mm-hmm. You can pick your own pumpkins. You can like take pictures like with giant pumpkins and
bales of hay to sit on.
Bales of hay,
yeah. Probably a horse-drawn carriage kind of a situation. A cheesy billboard off the highway.
In a lot of, I would say, in most of the country by landmass, you're probably during October not more than 90 minutes away from a pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Even here in Montreal, there's like I don't have a car, so I can't get out there. But when I was in a car last fall, there were signs everywhere for a corn maze. So they have them up here too. But they were definitely more common where I'm from originally in the rural South of the United States.
Oh yeah, I mean the rural South and the Midwest is what I'm thinking of when I'm talking about like my landmass, like the vast majority of the country.
What else are you going to do with that land? And like, it's a way for a farmer to bring in
corn and soybeans.
Yeah,
and then I've got bad news for farmers
Bad
of
news
both.
about soybeans.
Oh no,
I've got bad news about both, unfortunately. Anyways,
Yeah.
So we're making our next game about agriculture, right? Is that what?
Yeah, we're talking.
Yes.
It's all going to be agriculture and weirdly tariffs. Here's a puzzle game. What does 150% mean?
Oh no!
This sounds like a Leighton-like.
Yeah, I mean,
political
look,
Leighton-like.
Alan, listen here. If we're throwing out pitches, Leighton-like.
Those games are just bad. Sorry, they're not systemic, and you need to be systemic to be a good puzzle game.
No.
I feel the aircraft that is this show dipping, and we need to pull up.
So should we talk about how late we're still adding levels? Lucas, let's talk about how late we've been adding levels.
No, we're not. We're not doing this.
No, what levels? No, I don't know.
See, the thing is that whenever a conversation lulls, Alan and I just get into an argument. This is just how this all works. Half of you probably experienced this on your own episodes. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm super happy with the game. I think that if I'm being honest, the scope of the game is quite large relative to the other games Dracnek has published for the same price.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like the scope, like, it doesn't feel like the scope just kept creeping and creeping and creeping, even though, like, in some small degrees it did, usually with regards to polish. But, I don't know, it feels like there's just a whole lot of content.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole lot of puzzle ideas.
Yeah, the fact that we're able to just have puzzles completely independently designed in like puzzle script or whatnot, and then just brought in, and then we have like a finished level that is playable and interactable with no input after that is like that's fantastic.
You can make a game like this with standalone puzzles, but where they need to have like art input to bring them up to releasable quality. And like you can have that, and you can have a workable production pipeline, but it's so much better to not need that. To be able to like go like, oh, we like this level is still a bit of a sticking point difficulty wise, and it's on the critical path, so it'd be good to change it. To not have to go like, well, we can't change it because it's too late in the production pipeline. I think it contributes so much to the quality of the overall thing.
I think like the reason it's so much better value, right, is that Lucas is a much more efficient puzzle designer.
You're right. I'm over the hill. I couldn't make
washed.
I couldn't make levels as quickly as Lucas can make levels. Like I'm still alright. Like I've contributed. I don't know how many puzzles, but we've gone back and forth on some concepts, and I've
like 5.
No, there were a lot, and Alan, you are sometimes really, really fast. Just sometimes I just feel blocked because there's an unintended solution, and maybe I spend like 20 minutes, and I feel like, okay, let's just cut this puzzle, and then in a moment you just find the specific thing that is actually what's causing the unintended solution, and that's incredible.
Should have done the thing that ended up happening on Bonfire Peaks, where on Bonfire Peaks I would just use my own. No, well, on my own. When I was making levels for that, I would often use my name in the file name for the level, And so you can
yes.
track how many Bonfire Peaks levels I made based on that. But I didn't tell Lucas, hey, every time I make a level and send it to you, you gotta keep my name in that file name.
Yeah, it's as I think I've told the story before, but doing that was a fun little treat for me because I don't usually exist in like the source code of a project, but for Bonfire Peaks, for one reason or another, there came a time at the end of that base game's development where I was handling a bunch of like raw exported files that each one was named after a level, and I just saw all the internal names, and that's when it dawned on me that like 60% of that game is Alan's. And I'm like, oh, Alan, what did you do? And he was like, no, it wasn't. And then he actually looked at the list. He's like, oh, dang, maybe it was.
But no, for this game, it's probably like 10%.
Okay.
I think we should talk about the art.
Yeah, so we
Yes.
don't have Lucy or Adam on this call, unfortunately. But yeah, great work on the art.
It's a gorgeous game. It's so good. It perfectly hits that exact like mix of spooky and cute. Yeah, it's fantastic. I like basically since day one when I first saw the project, I was just like, this is going to be really good. Like the first time I saw, because like a lot of it was still concept art when I came on. But there were some 3D models that had been made and I was just like, yeah, this rules. It's great. Like the color scheming, the design of the creatures, the kind of like proportions of everything, the way the like props and the areas look. Like I remember we had some like iteration on like what props and like how many and that kind of thing. But like the core overall aesthetic has been like so solid since like day one.
And we hardly ever deviated from the actual original concepts, you know?
Mhm.
Nope.
Like,
Lucy pretty much just came in, one take, nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
there's hardly anything else that it's like you can look at the original concepts and you can go, that's the first level.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yes. And this is what Alan said at the top was like, we got 3 or 4 different game ideas with concept arts from different artists, and essentially what happened was everything but this one would have needed like another pass or revision, and we just looked at Lucy's and we're like, well, that's just the game that we were
you can
thinking
see
of
a whole
making.
game from that instantly.
So we were like, we should probably just go ahead and make this because it seems like all of the Viz dev was done instantly for us. And then Adam saw the art, basically just nodded and said, got it, and then just started implementing it. And we're like, what?
Yeah, it's wild how like cohesive and nice this game looks across the board.
We all agree that the zombie is the best passenger, right?
I love the zombie.
Visually.
My favorite idol for sure is whenever he like bats at his own eyeball. It's so good. It's so good.
Also, we do need to call out your sound effect design for the creatures, by the way, Priscilla. Like you landed on trains so quickly.
You did, and every time I've seen someone play, they're like, I'm sorry, did that zombie just say trains? And I'm like, absolutely did.
Trains. Yeah, it was fun. I love doing silly voices. I love using like voice for sound design too. Like there's a lot of stuff in just sprinkled throughout the sound design that just is my voice doing stuff and mixed in with other things. But yeah, having these little characters to kind of give them these like really short little things they say with, you know, personality and stuff. Like the zombie, very one-track mind, so to speak. You know, trains. When the zombies bump, which this is reminding me that I need to go boost that volume and commit that for this because it's not super legible. But when the zombies bump, they also say pains. So it's and then, you know, when they get to their grave, they say graves. So basically, they can really only pronounce like one vowel shape. They just really have found a way to communicate with that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun coming up with kind of what those should sound like. Like the vampire's a bit sassier, where is the train, kind of a vibe. I had just recently seen the Nosferatu movie. So the zombie,
Very normal connection.
The vampire does roll the R's in most cases because of that movie. So little tidbit in there, but yeah, and then like humans, I just kind of gave like a cutesy kind of like generic yay, oh hooray, kind of, like I'm just happy to be here on this train kind of a vibe. The cultists have a little bit of like a mix of things where it's like some of the stuff they say is stuff I actually recorded myself saying backwards and then reversed the clip Twin Peaks style, which I wish I have like a notepad with like the words written backwards. Let me see if I can pull it up. Because I was like writing them out phonetically backwards so that I could record takes. Oh yeah, here we go. Satisfactory was like Irat Kafsatas. And so when you hear the cultist be like satisfactory, it's because it's a reversed clip of me saying Irat Kafsatas. But anyway, so stuff like that for the cultist, because I wanted to imbue it with some spookiness, but try to keep it concise. So that was like a quick way to make it sound a little off kilter. And then the demon was just like I created a plugin chain and saved that. And so anytime I record a demon sound effect, I run it through this plugin chain. And it's a lot of it is just me being like, whoa, and then running it through the plugin chain, and it makes it sound like it's roaring or whatever. So yeah, I had way too much fun with all
and then
of
the humans are just you making silly noises.
Yay! Which, one of Adam's questions that he wanted us to ask was, did anyone leave any Easter eggs in the game? And I do have one for the human passenger boarding sounds.
Yeah.
One of the possible, I think there's like, I don't remember how many variations. Like there's quite a few variations for all of the boarding sounds and that kind of thing. But one of the options that the human will make when boarding the train, and it's the lowest probability of happening because I didn't want it to happen too often. But every once in a while you'll hear the human go, aha! And that is a that is a reference to the wrestler Ricochet.
Yeah, wow.
An AEW wrestler who, like, that's a sound he makes. He's like a very like funny heel wrestler. And yeah, he'll just come out and be like, aha! And so I referenced that and made a little reference.
My favorite human arrival clip is this is just gonna tell on myself way too much. For many years, up until about 2020, exactly 2020, my text delivery ringtone was the voice clip from the Super Nintendo game Super Punch-Out of the very first wrestler who is an old man who's never won. When he's introduced, he has exactly one voice clip, and it's just, yay. And so there's one of the Spooky Express passenger noises is almost exactly that. And every time I'm like, yes.
That's so funny.
And now, if you want the most tell on myself, now my text message delivery tone is Greedo saying McClunky. Because that is me to a T.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. I do like secretly hope that we do eventually add another passenger type for some DLC, because it's just so fun to come up with like all the different sounds they make, because they get annoyed if you fail, or they have little idle sounds that happen while they're sitting around waiting for the train to come. And there's so many different things that they react to. They get confused sometimes because they don't know where you're trying to go. So anyway, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Are there any other Easter eggs that people hid in the game files?
Not yet.
Oh boy! So yeah, we're recording this a couple weeks in advance, so there's a potential that people will have added stuff before the game launches.
There was one Easter egg that I wanted added, but I don't think it ever got added. The thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. I still am like, is there any way?
We do?
Yeah.
We have 3D
I'm
models.
just going to step in here
Oh my
and
God.
say that nobody's allowed to put any more things into the game, please. Please.
Wait, but they've already been made.
They have. I have seen the thumbs up at some point. Someone sent it to me.
Oh my God.
This would have been pretty early in production because you had
What
this
is the
idea
thumbs
almost
up?
immediately. It's a Terminator reference,
Like
where
a Terminator
there's-
2 thumbs up?
Yeah, for the lava. Because we have bits of
where
lava.
there's a chance
in
that
the-
a thumb will come out of the lava.
Oh, right.
like a skeleton hand. Yeah. It's super. I mean, if we already have a little skeleton thumbs up, why not? We've got
I
time.
believe we already have the skeleton thumbs up. Listener, look to see it in the game, and if you do see it, it was added because of this discussion that you just heard recorded on October 8th.
I didn't realize the asset had been made. I would have been asking about it way sooner because I was just like, oh, I won't, like, everyone's busy. I'm not going to be like, hey, by the way, did you get that Terminator
No, I
2
think
reference in for me?
I think Adam made it at some point.
Oh my God.
Well,
Okay.
if the asset's in there, I'll throw it on the tab. Like,
Oh my God.
Something to go follow up on.
This isn't really an Easter egg. I don't know. It still gets me. The possible option for a first person mode.
Yeah.
Joke option.
Yeah, VR Spooky Express. It's a nightmare.
Yes.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get all that Apple Vision Pro money.
Mm-hmm. I do think it would be such a funny, like, I think we should release just like a fake trailer for Spooky Express VR for like April Fools or something.
Well, if we actually want to do that, we're gonna have to cut it out of this podcast now. we're leaving a recorded record of the joke.
Only true fans will know, you know?
Only true fans that listen to the podcast that we're marketing. All right. Is there anything else people wanted to talk about the game?
This was the most, like, sort of ahead of schedule, put together, everybody knows what they're doing and nobody's panicking project I've worked on, I think.
Yeah,
Nice.
Dragnet games tends to be like that, and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Clearly worked on it too long.
It's so nice as a producer because you're like, well, I'm just sitting here, like, to make sure that it doesn't go off the rails, and then I hand the reins over to Ben, and Ben is just like, oh my gosh.
Well, the only thing you left me with is that you warned me that Alan would try and, like, change, like, do a secret ending in, like, the last week of the project or something.
Yeah, don't take your eye off the ball until launch day.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow we only ended up with one ending, right?
There can always be an E section.
Yeah, this was part of our risk assessment, Alan. This was
legitimately I warned him of this before you hired him.
Yeah, that was in my interview.
And your warning has not been like it's been a false warning. So
no, it has not. Just because it hasn't come true doesn't mean it wasn't worth warning about.
I've been good. So next game you don't need to pay attention.
Also, you came pretty close. What? I'll say you don't get a complete pass on this.
We did change the structure of the ending like last week.
Like multiple times.
Yeah.
You unfortunately do not get full parole for good behavior.
We absolutely do not have to hand it to Alan Hazelden.
I will say, like, the nice thing about this team, I feel like, is that there's such a high level of trust amongst the team. Like, I feel like a lot of times like that is really what it comes down to on like a game development production, is just like the level of trust people have with each other, of like, yes, I trust that you are going to like, get all of your work done and do it well and like to the best of your ability. And that like, you don't have to be like, there's no micromanaging. There's no like, politicking. Like it's so like wild to me when I hear people talk about like bigger studios, about like how much politicking there is and like, all this stuff. And I'm just like, could not be me. I just want to make some art. I'm just here to make art. Like, just trust me to make art and I'll do it,
I'm sure that Ben W. and I have both had that experience of having to do the micromanaging, and it sucks for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, I think the thing that you get away with a small team like this, which I love, is that like on a large team, it becomes like orders of magnitude more difficult to make sure that everybody has roughly the same idea of what the game is in their head. Like you're sort of like battling with the problem of everybody having a slightly different idea of what they think the game is, and then from that you get a bunch of like decisions made in different places that don't agree with each other, and it's horrible. But it's way easier to have everybody sort of singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, it was very, very aligned, this team and this game. Like, I feel like there were so few, like, I think trying to figure out the map visuals was probably like one of the only things that was just like, we were all kind of like, I don't know what to do here. Like that really was like the one thing that sticks out, is like, we tried a few things that like didn't quite work, and like,
and that was just going back to concepts. That was
we
solved that by just going back to the original concept.
Yep. So yeah, like, I don't know, this project was very focused, and I think that like the level of like focus and alignment like really lent itself to like finding all of the like fun little things that we could do, and and being that like kind of like targeted, I think is also what allowed us to do something like bringing in the comics as late as we did. Because like there weren't a bunch of fires we were having to put out. Like everything was like going really smoothly. So we're like, let's add some narrative to this game.
The comics came out so good.
They're really great.
It's been a real delight sort of just hanging out in the Slack for the last few months and just seeing each new comic pop up as it's been developed by
the team of artists.
Shout out to
it was Zach Cunningham who did the initial first comic kind of planning, and we also had the narrative input as well.
Yeah, so we had like vague ideas for each of the comics, and then we chatted with Philippa War about like some of the details, and she helped. I mean, we were talking about trying some slightly more involved concepts for the story, which we really didn't have time for, and Pip was like, no, just do the comics.
Alan, do you remember like sitting in that cafe in Edinburgh?
And the ideas we threw around in that cafe were good ideas, but they weren't necessary. Like all we needed was these comics, and they turned out great. And like, I just checked, and it was 3 months turnaround from having the idea and inviting the first comic artist to getting that first mock-up and going like, this idea will work, and then getting Zach Gorman and David Hellman on to actually make the comics we shipped with. Really quick turnaround. Really happy we could make it happen.
Yeah. I think it was so nice too, because it was like, I brought on a couple of friends to play some additional instruments for the comics music. So I was able to bring on Jack DeKeat to do some violin and clarinet and some whistling. And then my friend Nate, who is an amazing mandolinist, to play some mandolin. So like, I just feel like the comics are such like a nice, like last minute, like infusion of collaboration. So yeah, I'm really happy with how they came out, and I think they are really charming in the game. I think they like really add a lot of character.
they also give like a nice breather between each section.
Yeah.
Like, and a thing to look forward to as well, rather than it being like, I understand if you're maybe like super gung-ho about the puzzles, but if you're like needing something else to like look forward to, I think the comics are like a nice like North Star for a lot of players.
Yeah, I think that they work really well with the pacing. Initially I was a little concerned that just like, oh, but what if we only have time for like comics for half the areas, but they turn out really good, and then it feels like we're missing stuff. But like, no, they all came in, and they all came in great. And so
yeah. I really like how they kind of reinforce the humor of the game, because like each comic has like a lot of like visual gags and stuff, and I think it really does a lot to like reinforce the humor of the game, and just like, I don't know, I really like them, and I'm really, really glad that we managed to get them in.
My favorite comic is actually just the second comic.
The pumpkin patch. It's so good.
Of like the monsters are all just hanging around, and then the humans are just there with all their cameras just getting in their way.
So good. I think that first panel with the vampires like floating is like my favorite panel out of any of the comics.
Yeah. It's really delightful. Speaking of collaboration, Priscilla, maybe next game I'll go ahead and record an instrument for you.
Yeah. I'm always putting out feelers. I just like saw one of my friends post a video playing the marimba, and I'm like, I didn't know you have access to a marimba.
It's very funny because just on pure timeline, this will be a couple weeks old for everyone else, but yesterday was the final edit of the episode that you recorded, Priscilla, and so Melanie, who edited the podcast, told me, asked me how long the empty pause should be after I say that I can play basically every instrument, and I just said, well, leave it unedited, and she responded, I cannot do that. It is 20 seconds.
So part of what happened there is I didn't parse what you said because I have like audio processing issues. And so I wasn't sure what you said. And so I was like, do I ask, what did you say? Like, so I was like, I don't know what so because I just like legitimately did not like parse what you said, because I was just like, wait.
No, that's fair.
So I was like, wait,
but it came out very funny, where I was like, yeah, like all of them, and then it's just like 20 seconds of silence where no one's saying anything, and I'm like,
Priscilla's beef with Syrenne comes out in that podcast.
And so I think it got edited down to like half that.
Okay, because I was like, it happened, and I was like, surely they'll just edit that out, because like I didn't like like my brain was just like, it interpreted just like blah blah blah, like that's what I heard, blah blah blah. Like I was like,
that makes more sense. I was in the moment, it was just like, this is a really funny bit, and I'm just gonna let it ride because the silence is clearly intentional.
No, it's just, sometimes like I watch everything with subtitles. Like it's so funny. Like I joke to people, it's like, oh yeah, I make a living doing audio, but I have audio processing problems. And like sometimes like Kevin will, my partner will like be trying to tell me something. I'll be like, can you say that slower? Like can you?
I am the weirdo that watches everything with subtitles at 1.5x speed. I am the ultimate contradiction in that sense. All right. So thank you everyone for joining. I think it's not easy for everyone to find the time. Really appreciate it. For listeners of the podcast, every single person on this recording is in at least one dedicated podcast episode where we talk about them and their past experience. So if you were super engaged and were thinking, I want to hear more about like how Phoenix got into games, or I want to hear more about Ben Wilson's production horror stories, or I want to hear more about Priscilla and music, or I want to hear more about Lucas and puzzle design, or I want to hear about how Ben Davis and Alan have been working together for over a decade at this point, basically. There's so many episodes in the podcast feed for you to go listen to. If you thought that this Retrospective was too on the rails and that development went too positively, might I recommend The Electrifying Incident Postmortem. If you want to hear a postmortem that was not kept super on the rails. As a reminder, thank you to everyone. Spooky Express is available now on Steam, itch.io, the iOS App Store, and Google Play for Android phones. You can check it out. Please leave a review for the game after you play it. That helps a lot. And please rate and review the podcast here. And as always, thank you for listening to the Draconeck and Friends official podcast. Our music is by Priscilla Snow, who you can find at ghoulnoisemusic.com. Our podcast artwork is by Adam DeGrandis. Our podcast is edited by Melanie Zawodniak. Please rate and review us on your podcast service of choice, and be sure to tune in next episode for more interesting conversations.
Train!